Hey guys, we're going to get started today with our lesson video, and today we're going to be identifying appropriate measures of center. So because we're using guided notes, you should either have a copy of the PDF in Notability right now, or if we're in class, it's likely that you were provided a paper copy and you'll just use that while you watch this lesson video. So go ahead and write your I can statement down there, and as we go through this, there will be different times when I'll ask you to pause the video if when we're adding things up or dividing perhaps, and then you'll just play the video once you have your answers so you can kind of check as we go along. Today's more of a review of mean, median, and mode, but the new thing is going to be that we're going to talk about if you had to pick one to measure, as a measure of center for a data set, which one should you choose and why? So we're going to delve right into this. We're going to remind ourselves that the mean is found by adding all the numbers together and then dividing by how many numbers there are. You could say that there are in the data set. That would be fine. So as we keep going along through here, if you still need more time to write, then definitely just pause that video and take that time to write what we're filling in here. So in our example, it says that Anthony received the following grades: 95, 98, 96, 80, 96, 89, 77, 92, and 96. Overall, pretty good scores. Couple lower ones in there, but that's okay. That's okay. If we're finding the mean or average of his grades, we're going to follow these steps. First, we're going to add all the numbers together, and then we're going to divide by how many numbers that there are in the data set. So go ahead and pause the video here real quick before we say what the answer would be when you're adding these together. Okay, now that we've added these together, we should have gotten a sum of 819. So then to continue this, we have to divide by how many numbers we added together. And there are 9 numbers in this data set, so we're going to divide by 9. So if you want to pause while you're doing your division, whether on a calculator or on paper. And once you found your quotient, you should have gotten an answer of 91. So the mean, if you had to pick, either mean, median, or mode, you're going to pick the mean when there's a data set with no outliers. And we learned the other day that an outlier is a number that's far away from all other numbers in the data set. The median then is going to be, that's the number that's located in the middle of the data set, and this is crucial. That's only in the middle when the numbers are ordered from least to greatest. So a lot of times your data set is not going to be in numerical order. And to find the median, you'll have to write it in numerical order to find the number that's actually in the center. So if we're writing the numbers from our data set above in order, it would be, oh, I got ahead of myself, sorry. The median is a good choice when the data set has outliers. So that's the difference between the mean and the median. So mean's good when there are no outliers. The median's better when there are outliers, or numbers that are far outside the data set. So if we're rewriting our numbers from our data set in order from least to greatest, we'll have 77, 80, 89, 92, 95, 96, 96, 96, and 98. And then just like in class the other day when we were finding the median in a variety of different data sets, you're going to start crossing these out from the outside and working your way in. This one worked out well for us. That was kind of nice that our median ended up being just one number in the middle. Remember, if there are two numbers left in the center, you add them together and divide by 2. If there's one number left in the center, you just use that number. So the median of Anthony's grades would be 95. And again, if you need to pause the video at any time to catch up, to write things down, or rewind, or listen to an explanation again, feel free to do so. Moving on, the mode is going to be the number that appears the most in a data set. And the mode is going to help us recognize trends in the data set. Really interesting side note, if you ever have all of your work done, of course, before you do this, if you go to trends.google.com, you'll be able to see some really cool information that Google puts out there for the public to see about like what's being searched. You know, what are the popular things being searched, and you know, how's it trending across the country or across the world. It's definitely something really interesting to look into, again, when you have free time. So if we're finding the mode of Anthony's grades, it's really easy if you go up and look at the list that we made for median right up here, because you're going to see, yeah, there's 177, there's 180, 189, 192, and as you go along, you'll notice that there were 3 96s. So because 96 appeared the most, the mode of Anthony's grades would be 96. So the mean, the median, and the mode are useful for describing the center. The center for a data set, because we are finding appropriate measures of center. So just to reiterate on that, remind you on that. They are all useful for describing the center for a data set. So kind of to wrap us up here, you're going to want to use the mode for a data set that has many identical values. So a lot of the same repeating numbers or number. And you would use the mean for a data set with no outliers. And lastly, you would use the median for a data set with, oh, it says date set. That should say data, sorry. With outliers. You're going to use the median for a data set with outliers. So down below, there are 3 different examples, 3 different data sets. We're not down to the graphs yet. We're just looking at the data sets. These 3 here. So I'm going to have you pause the video and write down which measure of center we should use for each. And once you've written down an answer in each of these blanks over here, we'll continue together. Hopefully we've done that by now. If not, pause the video again and finish those 3 problems up. But assuming that we have completed this, because this first data set doesn't really have any outliers, there's not a number that's really far away from the other numbers, we're going to use the mean for that. And then our second data set, we've got a lot of numbers in the 20s, And then we've got 2 that kind of stick out otherwise. 48 and 6 are far away from the other numbers in the data set. So those would be outliers in this data set. Therefore, we would use the median if we had to pick one. And last but not least, sorry, it's a little off center from the checkbox. I ended up putting a new data set in this one just to make it a little more obvious. And I know if we've used the mean once and we use the median for the second example, well, we're probably going to use the mode for the third data set. And that is the case because there are many ones in the data set. And be careful. This is not a 1. You got to read your data set carefully. If we're glossing over this really quickly, we might just think that 100's 1 0 0, a 1 then a 0 and a 0. No. That's 100. Does not count toward our total of 1 2 3 4 5 6 number ones, but because there are many more number ones than other numbers in the data set, we're going to use the mode. And down below, we have 2 more examples. 2 more examples, but this time we're looking at graphs. So for graph number 1, I'm going to have you put what we would use off to the right, and for graph number 2, I'll have you do the same. Either mean, median, or mode. And once you go ahead and pause the video in a moment, and once you have those, unpause it or play it, and we'll go over those together. So pause it for now. And assuming we have answers for that now, for our first graph here, it's all pretty close together. That's one big kind of cluster of data. So because there's nothing really far away from other numbers in the data set, we're going to use the mean for this. And down on our second data set, a lot of stuff's close together here, but we do have an outlier. And when we have outliers in our data set, we are going to use the median. So if you ever need to review this topic again, you've got the guided notes in Schoology. You also have a paper copy if we're in person right now. And you can watch this again and go through it, and you'll be good to go. All right, good luck on the quick check.